threat gets 1 square kilometer closer to Europe.
Well, joining me now to talk more about this is Elina Beketova, Democracy Fellow at the think tank, the Centre for European Policy Analysis. Thank you very much, Elina, for taking the time. I'd like just to begin with those comments that we heard from the French Foreign Minister, also saying that there should be no red lines when it comes to support for Ukraine. I just wonder, do you think that is a feeling that is common throughout Western allies?
Well, I hope that this is a feeling that is common for Western allies, and Ukrainians can only thank the French foreign minister for his words that there are no red lines when it comes to support of Ukraine, because every Ukrainian right now knows that, if they stop to defend their territory, more territory will be occupied. So that is why many European countries understand that if Ukraine fails, they might be the next. So that is why this week was very important in terms of the US and Britain giving permission for their missiles to hit Russian targets. Now Ukrainians shouldn't wait till the Russian missiles will hit them. They can target Russian military bases, infrastructure, and ammunition storage in advance.
Do you think that will turn the tide? Because presumably the number of those missiles are also limited.
You're quite right. While we know that the number of missile supplies may not be enough to change the course of the war, Russia has already moved some military equipment like jets to airfields deeper inside Russia. So this could make things harder for Russian troops as their supply lines will be longer and air support will take more time to arrive. So this decision is like a much needed symbolic psychological move to show stronger military support for Ukraine.
And when it comes to those comments from President Putin, for example, saying that he could strike those countries supplying those missiles, we know he's also changed the nuclear threshold for deploying nuclear warheads. What do you make of that? Do you take it seriously? Do you see it as bluster?
Well, unfortunately, we don't know what is inside of the Putin's mind, but I think that the Russians are not about to launch nuclear missiles at Berlin, London, or Washington, D.C. Right now, tactical nuclear weapons wouldn't be very useful for Russia either. Unfortunately, as we see on the front line, for instance, in the eastern part of Ukraine, Russian forces are slowly making progress on the battlefield, so they don't need any nuclear strikes. So probably it's just, unfortunately, what we are observing right now, it's just the blackmail.
I mean, as you say, there has been that progress from the Russians on the battlefield in Ukraine. We've also heard comments from the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky suggesting that Russia is now prioritizing recapturing territory in the Kursk region occupied by his troops there in Russia. So, do you think that essentially Ukraine feels on a deadline right now in terms of putting all efforts forward before we see a Trump administration with a risk of dwindling military aid?
Well, I completely agree with you. And unfortunately, Ukraine feels that everyone is on the deadline right now because we're waiting for Western allies to support Ukraine and provide more military aid. Because, well, as we heard today, the President Zelensky has said that Ukraine has every chance of ending the war next year, and the U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's proposals for ending the war are to be announced in January. At this point, it's unclear what exactly will happen and how the war will be over, but hopefully a reduction in military aid won't become a reality. Because if the U.S. were to cut back on military support for Ukraine, Europe would likely continue to provide assistance. However, it wouldn't be enough, and Ukrainians would continue to fight on their own. So it will be hard to explain to the millions of Ukrainians who have already lost something, everything, or someone in this war that they must stop fighting and accept occupation. Of course, Ukrainians are tired, but no one wants to be occupied. So at this point, there are a lot of hopes that with the new administration, the military aid won't be cut and there will be a plan how to end this war.
Elina Beketova, Democracy Fellow at the think tank, the Centre for European Policy Analysis. Good to have you with us. Thank you.